All right, welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is the week one preview. It's what we've all been waiting for. We are headed to kickoff. I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
All right, like I said, this is week one preview. If you're watching, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We're excited about the season getting started. Got a lot of things planned, a lot of things we want to talk about. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please hop over to Facebook and help us out. So let's get right into this, guys, shall we?
Let's get her done.
Let's get her done. All right. Thursday night, Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, 91% of all of the ESPN pick'em players chose Tampa, which, by the way, shameless plug, check us out on Facebook or on Twitter at Horsemen Sports and jump into our ESPN Pick'em contest and match your knowledge against us for the season. I bet you can't beat me. How's that for a challenge? Anyway, 91% of all fans on the ESPN Pick'em chose Tampa. And the remaining 9% are delusional Cowboys fans.
That is very true.
But it's not entirely their fault. I don't know if you saw Jerry Jones put the word out last week, just a couple of days ago, I think. He put the word out, we're going to be good. He gave them reason to believe. And, you know, I'm sure he says that every year. But anyway, reports out of Tampa are not looking good for the rest of the NFC. The reports are that they're already better than they were last year. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, they have a whole year of chemistry, and they're coming off that hot run they had towards the end of the season and into the Super Bowl. So I believe that.
Yeah, and we talked about that last week. That remember last week I said I didn't know if they had just peaked at the end of last year or if they were just getting better. And if it was the latter, if they were just getting better, someone better hope they unpeak somewhere over the next 17 weeks, or it could be real ugly, because I don't know how they can get much better than they were at the end of the season. I mean, they were pretty damn good. The Chiefs are one of the best teams I've seen in a long time. And anyway, how crazy would it be for the Chiefs and the Bucs to go undefeated and meet in the Super Bowl? I think for the first time that I can ever remember, that is a very realistic possibility. Well, let me take the word "very" out of there, and let me switch realistic out for probable. I'll switch "very" for slightly and realistic for probable. But my point being is that if it was ever going to happen, these are two of the teams that could have made that happen. With all that said, the Cowboys don't have a chance.
No, I mean, I wouldn't say they don't have a chance, because look at last year when Jacksonville and Indianapolis played. Jacksonville came out of nowhere and won that game.
Good point.
It's the first game of the season. You never know what's going to happen, but every indication is saying that Tampa Bay will dominate this game. Their offense is better. Their defense is better. So I'm going with Tampa without a doubt. I can't argue there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team, when you talk about them getting better than they were when we last saw them, it's because they're getting Vita Vea back from injury. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are fully healthy here at the beginning of the year, whereas, this team was pretty beat up. They had a lot of guys that had a couple of injuries playing throughout the year and were still effective. But, I mean, Mike Evans has been a top 10 receiver in the league for so long. And then you obviously have Gronk there as a safety valve. They have anything you could possibly want. We've talked about it before. They have every starter coming back this year. And so, as much as I like Dak and I want to see Dak get that first win back from a major injury, it's just not going to happen this week.
All right, so we're all in agreement. We are all choosing Tampa Bay for the week one opener here in Tampa. All right. Next up. And when I do want to say, as much as I don't think the Cowboys have a chance to win this game. If I was going to pick this 10 times, I'd probably pick Tampa 10 times. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout or a manhandle either. I think the Cowboys have gotten better. They're just not as good as the Bucs. I want to be fair because I'm getting ready to rip on a couple teams as we move down this list. Oh, look, it's the Eagles and the Falcons. you know who loses in this game?
Everybody.
Anyone who gets stuck watching it because it's the only game covered in their area.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that might be the case for me. Right. I was looking at the schedule. I was like, Eagles might be on.
Yeah. But still, with as rough a year as is expected in Atlanta, almost 70% of the ESPN participants picked Atlanta to beat the Eagles. It's going to be a long year in Philly.
Yeah, who'd you pick? Who are you taking?
Bruh.
Atlanta. you just have to clarify.
I'm going with the majority on this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Atlanta. I mean, last year their pass defense really sucked, but they had a pretty solid rushing defense. And in general, Philadelphia's defense all around just isn't very good. Obviously, it's a new season. You never know what can happen. But for that alone and the fact that it's in Atlanta, I'm going to go with the Falcons. Plus, I like Matt Ryan a hell of a lot better like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and this one, I didn't really know which way to go. In the playoff predictor, I had picked the Falcons. When I saw this matchup, I thought about taking the Eagles here, but ultimately I went with the Falcons as well. And it really came down to, both these teams suck on both sides of the ball right now. We don't know what either team's going to be like on offense, but they definitely suck on defense. So I just picked which coach do I think will do better in his first game. And Nick Sirianni, as much as I like him because he was Colts OC, blah, 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 he's looked like an asshat in the offseason. And Arthur Smith seems to be the next offensive guru to come up. So I had to take Arthur Smith in this one.
All right, so we're all three also in agreement that we're taking the Falcons over the Eagles. So, all right, next game. Minshew's in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah.
Here, let me change my pick real quick. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Steelers at the Bills. Now, this one is an interesting game to me, and the reason why is that this, in my opinion, this is already a colossal matchup in Week 1 with potential playoff implications. And the reason why is that the Bills are better, right? And the Bills are at home. Let's start out with that. The Bills are a better team. The Bills are at home, and we know that. But we know that bar a disaster, Buffalo will make the playoffs. That's pretty much a foregone conclusion unless everything the wheels completely come off the machine. I don't see that happen. Okay. That isn't the case with Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh is good enough that if things go their way, they can bully their way into the playoffs. And they have to know that. They have to know that they're not as good as Buffalo. They're not as good as Kansas City. You've got the Dolphins, you've got the Colts. There's the Browns. There's a lot. The Ravens. There's a lot of pushing and shoving going on for that level that Pittsburgh's going to have to get in. And every win is going to count for Pittsburgh. And I believe in their program enough and the way they do things. And Mike Tomlin. They've had this conversation. They know what's at stake right from the very beginning. Pittsburgh is a winning program. They don't take it lightly. So I think they're going to come into play. Now, with all that said, I can't take Pittsburgh over Buffalo. I'm choosing Buffalo, but I think this could be a very interesting game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Pittsburgh's defense is going to be absolutely ferocious. They almost always are, right? And then I think for Pittsburgh, they really need to get Najee Harris going. If they can set that run game, that'll help them in the passing game. Buffalo's passing defense is a lot better than the rushing defense, so I think that definitely gives the Steelers a little bit of an advantage there. But it is in Buffalo. I have extremely high hopes for Josh Allen in this offense, and I just don't think the Steelers are going to be able to get it done offensively, nor are they going to be able to continuously hold Josh Allen all game long. I have Buffalo winning this one.
Yeah, and really, I'm interested to see what happens with the T.J. Watt thing that's going on. He's with the new CBA, there aren't really any holdouts that he's holding in so that he doesn't get fined. But if they don't get this deal done before this first game, like he hasn't been practicing, is he going to play week one? Is he going to decide to not suit up but just stand on the sideline for week one? I'm interested to see what happens there, especially because they don't have Bud Dupree anymore on the opposite side. So that'll affect their pass rush, obviously, if he's not there. But honestly, even if he is there, I just don't know if it's going to matter with the offense that Buffalo has, the explosive ability that they have in their offense. And the Steelers have been a top 10 defense for multiple years in a row. So they can hold their own. But I just think, Josh Allen is my MVP this year. So, I'm going to take the MVP to do what he does and work some magic in this game and lead his team to a 1-0 record.
Yeah. All right. I agree with that. And I think that the biggest thing with as explosive as Buffalo's offense is, at any play they can burn you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's happening. At any time they can burn you. The defense has to be on guard and work all the time. And the longer the game goes on and the more the defense tires, the higher the odds go. The Buffalo is going to break out, and they break out once or twice, and it changes the complete complexity of the game. And I think that'll happen here at some point. Buffalo. We're all three taking Buffalo. All right. Next up, Vikings at the Bengals. And Hefe, I want to bring this to your attention. You know how I tease you about emotional picks with the Colts? Well, yeah. Feel free to let me have it right back, because I'm so pissed off at the Minnesota Vikings and what they did to me last year. It was like an abusive, narcissistic, romantic relationship where they just kept crushing me and then coming back and telling me what I wanted to hear and get my hopes back up and then crushing me again. And it was just all year long. I think a couple of times I even said I wasn't ever going to pick them anymore. Did I say that last year?
Pretty sure.
I think I did too. I tried to help them. I praised them. They had enough to do something last year. They just didn't do it. I don't know. I don't. They should win this game. I mean, but they're on the road. I don't know. I can't take the Bengals, man. It's going to be another bungled year in Cincinnati. Poor Burrows. We talked about that last week. I can't expect much more out of Minnesota, but never say never. I'm taking the Vikings.
Yeah, both these defenses are pretty lousy. I really think the Bengals can win this game, but I'm also going to take the Vikings.
Yeah, I thought long and hard about taking the Bengals, but because I do think their defense is going to be better. I think their defense this year is going to be better than the Vikings defense, but I'm just not sure, what it's going to be. I need to see it before I believe it. So I went ahead, took the Vikings because I know Kirk Cousins is a steady quarterback, and they have Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. That's really what it came down to me. They have more of that star power on their team than the Bengals do.
Okay. We haven't picked against each other yet, have we?
Nope.
All right. We're all three taking the Vikings. Is this the fork in the road? Is this where we're going to disagree, the 49ers and the Lions? Sorry, Brian.
I think this is the most lopsided one of the week. I do believe 94 to 6%.
Okay, yeah, you might be right. I don't care if the 49ers have to take their plane breaks down and they have to take a bus to Detroit on Saturday to play the Lions on Sunday. There's no way the Lions win this game. rumor has it that the 49ers are going to use Jimmy G and Trey Lance interchangeably, like the Saints did Taysom Hill and Breeze last year. And Raheem
Mostert.
Yes, thank you. Raheem Mostert said that he loves the rotation. That's working out really, really well. If they can make this 2-quarterback thing work and not let it blow into a quarterback controversy, because you know how I feel about that. If they can make this work with their run game and this defense, whoo-wee. But we'll see if that works out later. For right now, they get an easy win in Detroit.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, their defense is amazing. Their offense is amazing. Detroit is the same old typical Detroit team. It's going to be pretty ugly.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot last year. A fully healthy 49ers football team is going to be a scary one and a problem for a lot of people. So the Lions, unfortunate for Dan Campbell making his rookie coaching debut because his team is about to get blasted.
Yeah, I hope he's got plenty of liquor on hand to drown that one out on Sunday night. All right, so next game up, Arizona Cardinals go to Tennessee Titans. Look, not to overplay this one, it's only week 1, but a week 1 loss in Tennessee at home to the Cardinals could threaten the locker room buy-in that Tennessee is a legitimate contender. Now, I know it's only week 1. We saw that with the Colts last year. But these guys have bought in that they are Super Bowl contenders. I bought in. I think Tennessee, I think there are 2 teams in the top tier, but I think Tennessee's sitting right in the second tier. I don't see Tennessee losing this game. The Cardinals go into week 2 0-1.
I think you might be underestimating Arizona. I think they're definitely going to be a little bit better than everybody thinks. However, I do agree with Tennessee being the better of the 2 teams, and because they're at home, I'm also taking Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I've never really been a huge Kyler Murray guy. I think the Cardinals did make their team better in areas that they needed to, but I think Tennessee's going to be a powerhouse, so I had to go with Tennessee here.
Yeah, and Zach, I'd like to kind of tend to your point because I didn't express this. I don't think Arizona is necessarily a playoff contending team, but I think they're a good team that will beat formidable opponents, and they might squeeze in. Who knows how that division is going to go? They might squeeze in a playoff spot. I didn't, and I can see where that was confusing. I didn't mean to say Tennessee has no business losing to Arizona. I meant that Arizona is good enough to beat them, but if Tennessee wants to believe they are a Super Bowl contending team and they lose, it will set that back some, and maybe not even completely erase it. I don't want to say that either. I'm just saying that I think this is a win for the Titans at home in week 1 against the Cardinals would be a great first step towards building that confidence staircase towards making a playoff run. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of, what you're talking about, we saw with the Colts last season. You talked about the week 1 loss to Jacksonville, and they were kind of stuttering until that Green Bay game where they had to fight to win, and they played all the way till the end of the game. The defense gets a turnover, and Hot Rod kicks field goal to win it. And then after that, we saw the Colts really start to ascend after that. So it's a psyche thing. A lot of former NFL players talk about you have to have that confidence in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that said, sliding into the next, I mean, we're all 3 taking the Titans. Sliding into the next game, the Seahawks and the Colts. I feel the same way about this game in Indianapolis as I do the Tennessee game. I think the Colts are the better team, but I think the Seahawks are dangerous enough to beat them. But I think the Colts losing this could rock them back on their heels a little bit to where, like you were talking about Hefe with the sputtering. But I think if the Colts knock this one down at home, it's a good first step towards working towards the postseason. But I do think the Colts take this one home.
Have they announced yet whether Wentz is going to play?
Wentz and Big Q are ready to go for week 1.
Yeah, and I heard today that that everyone who's seen him said he looks good, that he's nimble, he's moving his feet well, that he looks really, really good.
You know what's blowing my mind right now? That 88% of the people on ESPN Pigskin Pick are taking the Seahawks. That's blowing my mind right now.
Yeah.
Well, let them keep, and you know what? Let them keep doubting. People are down on the Colts because all the COVID stuff and the injuries that have happened. But look, we had all that crazy stuff happen before the season began. And these guys are all back and practicing. All the starters are practicing together, getting ready for week 1. I think it'll be fine going into the season. I think, things are going to be better when Eric Fisher is in there. I want to be more confident about the Colts when Eric Fisher is back in the lineup, which, by the way, I heard he's moving well and looks very close to coming back. So, I also have the Colts winning week 1, and that's honestly more about my belief that the Seahawks just were too inconsistent last season. They didn't change much of the personnel on the team. I think their defense is still going to be not very good. And I think, Russ last year was inconsistent. I think it'll be the same here. Colts defense is going to be able to stop them because they're really good. So I had to go with the hometown team here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking the Colts as well.
Yeah, and I think, Zach, probably to your point, the Colts were quietly good last year. They lost that week 1 to Jacksonville. They lost the division to Tennessee. People always remember the winners. And so I think that's kind of a testament that, the Seahawks are in contention for their division pretty much every year. Everybody knows who Russell Wilson is. They're all still stuck. They think it's, 8 years ago or whatever it was. And I think the Colts have just been too quiet to get dominant respect, and hopefully that'll change this year. They win that game. I'm telling you, they win game 1 last year. Then last year's the whole thing is completely different. They flip flop. They win the division. They get a better seed in the playoffs. There's just no telling what could have happened. But it doesn't surprise me that people aren't really, and the things that Hefe you were talking about with, all the COVID stuff, and Wentz hasn't proven anything. You're only as good as your last performance, and everybody thinks Wentz sucks. They think we probably downgraded. There's just a lot of people hating on that right now. And to be fair, Wentz has to prove himself. But we've all talked about it on this show that, if Wentz comes out looking like he did a couple years ago, this is one of the top 3 teams to beat in the AFC. So hopefully that's do what?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and hopefully that's what we'll see on Sunday. So, okay, we are all 3 taking the Colts. We still haven't deviated, have we?
Nope, still all in agreement.
All right. Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers at the WFT. That was a terrible joke. Sorry. It was almost bad enough to be. It's not quite a dad joke, but it's pretty damn close, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to say that I was going against the norm on this game, but it sounds like I went against it. We all 3 went against the norm on last game. 70% of the people on ESPN picked the Chargers to win this game, and I just can't. Washington has a lot to prove. They won the NFC East last year in quite ugly fashion, but they were division champs nonetheless. Rivera's got another year putting things together. He's a seasoned coach. He knows how to get players to play and motivate. They've talked about that. That's the first brick in that staircase that we're just talking about. He's building their identity on that division champ win. This is a game at home. I think Rivera will have them prepared. This is a long trip for the Chargers. It's not really anything against the Chargers. It's a long road trip. Washington's defending at home. I'm not sure that the Chargers are in the same mindset yet with the turnover and the things that they've had trying to get going. I just think that Washington has one more solid piece in place than the Chargers do. And so based on what I see, I'm going with Washington.
Yeah, I would love to play devil's advocate here, but I can't. I have to agree with you. I'm going to also take Washington. They're both teams have good defenses. Well, based off last year's stats, this year obviously we will find out. But the difference between the two is that Washington has had the best passing defense last season, and I think that's definitely going to be a huge key, especially with Chase Young on the outside putting pressure on it. Still young Justin Herbert. He's in the sophomore year. We'll see if he has a sophomore slump or not. Personally, I don't think so. However, this is going to be a very tough game for him. And they're at Washington. I agree with the long road trip. It kind of messes with you a little bit with the jet lag. So, yeah, I got to go with the underdog here and take Washington at home.
Yeah, maybe to some people's surprise, probably not you guys. I'm right there with you. I had to really think about this game. I thought about giving it to the Chargers, but it really came down to the coaching. I don't know what Brandon Staley's going to be like as a head coach. He was a fine defensive coordinator, but I need to see what the Chargers are going to be like without Anthony Lynn. Are they going to still fumble games away? Was it actually on the personnel last year? But I think Ron Rivera has the best defense in the league. I think this is a defense that has the capability of finishing as the NFL's top defense at the end of the year. I think they're going to be ferocious, and they're going to keep the pressure off the offense, which is, Jason Wright and his group of guys have done a great job of building up the offense. Obviously you bring Fitzpatrick in, but Antonio Gibson, I'm a big fan of his. I also like Terry McLaurin. They get Curtis Samuel in there. I think the offense can be explosive, but they're not going to have that pressure on them because the defense is going to be so good. So I think this is going to be a really good game. I want to watch this game this upcoming weekend, but I do think Washington can pull out the win.
All right. We all three agree again. We're all picking Washington. Are we going to be tied? Well, we got a couple more games. Let's go through these. All right. Next game, Jets at Panthers. It's good to see the percentage go up for the picks for the New York Jets on the ESPN Pigskin Pick 'em. Remember last year, every game it finally hovered around 4% for the last half of the season. And we determined those were the delusional Jets fans. But things are looking up in New York, not to offend any of our followers who are Jets fans. Things are looking up now that they have jettisoned the coach that we dare not speak his name out of town. They put him on a train to Ypsilanti. So that sounds like a making of a blues song, doesn't it? Put him on a midnight train to Ypsilanti. The Jets are rebuilding. It's too early for this kind of confidence, especially week one on the road. And I've got to take Carolina.
Yeah, the Jets are looking up. I'll give them that. But sorry, Jets guy. What was his name? Benjamin?
Yep, Benjamin.
Shout out to Benjamin. Unfortunately, buddy, it ain't happening this week. Sam Darnold's going to put one on you guys for giving them or trading them away.
Yeah. No, how great is it that he gets to play his old team first week of the season? He has his old buddy Robbie Anderson to throw the ball to. Christian McCaffrey's back in the lineup. They worked on the defense in the offseason. So I'm right there with you guys. I'm taking Carolina to win this game, and I think they'll put it to the Jets in this one.
How funny would it be if Darnold has, throws for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns and then never does another thing in his career? But just lights the Jets up and pisses their fans off. All right, so we all three agree with we're all taking the Panthers with that as well. All right, next up, the Jags and the Texans. 18% pick the Texans. Cheese and rice, man. Do people just not pay attention to what is going on down in Houston? I don't get it. I understand it's hard to pick the Jags, but the Jags are going to be better than they were last year, and the Texans are going to be worse than they were last year. And that's all you need to know to pick the winner of this game. I'm going with the Texans.
What? You're going with the Texans?
Can you edit that out, please? Or
You should
leave
leave
it.
it.
I don't know. I don't know what.
what.
Now, what's happened is I'm picking the Jags. All right. What's happened is now that I've said that, the Texans will win.
Probably.
But then I can pull a Donald Trump and I'd be like, hey, I said the Texans were going to win, and we'd be good.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. Win-win situation. I was getting ready to say, yeah, I agree with everything you said. The Jags are getting better. The Texans are getting worse. And then you said you're taking the Texans. I was like, what?
Yeah. Jags. I'm taking the Jags.
Yeah. I can't disagree that I'm taking the Jags as well.
Yeah, and I actually thought about, saying screw it and picking the Texans in this one, going with Tyrod pick to get the upset of the century. But I believe in Trevor Lawrence and his ability. I think he'll be able to get a win against a team that's in complete demise right now.
Yeah. An interesting side fact, I saw something today that and I didn't realize this until I saw it, that all 4 AFC South, old habits die hard, I almost said AFC East, all 4 AFC South teams have a different quarterback than they had in 2019, just 2 years ago.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's one. Jeff, I see you nodding your head. It's one of those things I didn't think about until I saw it. And I was like, damn, you're right.
And you know what? The Texans in a couple of weeks might not even have the same quarterback they have starting right now. There have been rumors about Cam Newton coming to the Texans.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Well, I mean, if you need a job, you need a job, but I wouldn't expect anything big to happen there.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't either. And let's talk. Well, we'll talk about Cam in a minute. Well, all right. So we are all three taking the Jags. All right. Next up, Browns and the Chiefs. Now, this is also an interesting game. But it's not that interesting. But the Browns' defense is going to be good, but no disrespect meant to the Browns or the Browns fans, notwithstanding their incredible defense. They are not going into Arrowhead and winning against the Chiefs. The Chiefs can run the goddamn table this year. Look, if you don't think that kid is pissed off from losing that game to that old man last year, you are sorely mistaken. The Chiefs, that's what I was talking about earlier with the Bucs. The Chiefs could be better than they were last year. I don't know. There's a whole lot that goes into that. There's a lot of player changes. I know there's some weaknesses in the roster, but Andy Reid has been around a long time. And Patrick Mahomes is an exceptional Hall of Fame generational quarterback, comes along who's young and he's pissed off he didn't win the Super Bowl last year. And they mean business, and they're going to put it down in week 1. They're coming off a loss, man. The last game they played was a loss. They are coming to put it down, and the Browns just are not that good.
You think it's going to be a blowout?
I don't know that it'll be a blowout. I just don't. I think no matter what happens, as hard as the Browns play, whether it is a blowout or whether it's tight, the Chiefs are going to find even if it's a tight game, the Chiefs are going to find a way to win. I just don't think the Browns can beat the Chiefs this week. I don't think it can happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking the Chiefs, but I do think it's going to be a pretty good game, at least until late. Maybe the Chiefs run away with it in the 4th. To me, this is my game of the week. I don't know where your guys' games of the week are. We haven't discussed that, but this is my game of the week, the one I'm most interested in watching. I think it's going to be pretty competitive, especially early on. Ultimately, Chiefs come away with the win.
Yeah, I'm glad this is one of the 425 games, so that it's one that you can just put it there and just watch the whole thing, because I think it's going to be a really good game. But this is where we differ. And
he's taking them. He's going for it.
I'm taking the Brownies this week.
Oh, big upset.
We heard, you guys just heard Brad talking about how Patrick Mahomes is upset that he didn't win the Super Bowl. He's mad about losing that Super Bowl against the old man. Well, the Brownies are upset about a win or about a loss in the playoffs to the Chiefs, and I think they come back.
The Brownies are still pissed off about a loss in the playoffs in 1987.
I mean, fair, but I think they did enough. Bringing in Jadeveon Clowney. Not that I think he's that much of a game changer, but just another piece on the defensive line, somebody you have to pay attention to. And part of the reason I think Myles Garrett is going to be the defensive player of the year this year, because I think he's going to wreak havoc in this game and every other game this year. And I think it's going to be a close game, and I don't think either team is going to pull away from the other. I think they're both pretty solid on defense as well. So this is going to be a tremendous game to watch. And again, I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Browns have enough to come back and get vengeance against the Chiefs.
All right. Do you guys know what I'm referencing in 1987?
No, I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, good point. Actually, I think 87, 86 and 87, the Browns lost the AFC Championship to, I think, both years to the Broncos. In 86 was the drive by Elway, and I think there was a fumble in 87, and that's the closest the Browns got. They've been trying to get there ever since. That was my reference to that. So, and I would like to apologize if I opened old wounds for Browns fans.
They've been through so much.
I'd like to see the Browns win. I really would. So no hard feelings. I didn't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. Just trying to be a comedian. Sometimes you got to step on toes if you want to try to be funny. All right. So Hefe taking a stand, taking the Browns, and Zach and I. Hefe will tell everybody that we're playing it safe. Zach and I taking the favorite team. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
Yep, I took him in the playoff predictor, and I stayed consistent with it.
Okay, all right, good deal. All right, yeah, I'm a little weird. This is my game of the week. The Dolphins and the Patriots. You guys know I have been on this ship since Brian Flores rolled into town. I've been all about it. I've been watching what he's doing. I've seen immediately when he started shipping those jackasses out of the locker room and not taking any. And I said on this show, I was like, he has gone all in. Either this is going to blow up in his face or it's going to work out, and it has worked out. The only thing he's done that I haven't really agreed with was last year with Tua, putting Tua in as early as he did with Fitzpatrick. He's done everything he needs to do. This team is ready right now. I think Flores has done all he can do. I think everything rests on Tua's shoulders. We'll see how that plays out. But, bro, the student is going back into the master's house to try to kick his ass. This to me, this is fascinating. Cam's gone. I expected that. Remember, I said last week that I didn't know how long that experiment would go on, but I knew it wouldn't last. I certainly didn't expect it to be like, what was it? Literally like 2 hours later, I think, when you sent me that text, Hefe, after we recorded, I didn't expect that. I thought it would go partway through the season or whatever. But I'm not, I can't say I'm really surprised either. But I don't know. Did you guys hear what Belichick had to say about Cam? He had nothing but praise for his work ethic. He said he came in and he worked really hard and he did everything they asked him to. That's typical coach speak, but I don't know that that's typical Belichick speech. I don't know that Belichick would embellish it. I think he would just not say anything. He'd give his, well, we just got to let people go kind of thing. So I don't know. It brings up questions for me. Was he not a good fit? Is he done? I think, and I don't know that we can answer either of those two questions, because I think from what I think I know about Belichick, if he thinks he can win with Jones now, even remotely win with Jones now, but thinks he can win with him next year and beyond, I think that's a no-brainer for that guy. I think it's sorry, Cam, you only got a couple good years. I'm looking, I honestly think Belichick thinks he's building a team to win another 7 championships over the next 10 years. Or another 25 over the next 30. I think he's going to live to be 117 and coach his team into 2050. I don't think there is any short-termness going on here. I think this guy does what he always does, and he's building an unshakable, trying to build an unshakable powerhouse. And I just think Cam just doesn't fit into that. So I don't know. Then now we got to figure out where Cam goes from here. But anyway, back to the Dolphins and the Patriots. This Dolphins defense is ridiculous. Enough said. But like I said, the student is challenging the master. He's going into the master's house. It's never easy to beat Belichick. It's never easy to beat the Patriots in Massachusetts at home. Interestingly enough, I think this is the first time that I have seen, and maybe I just haven't paid attention, there's an even 50-50 split on the picks for this game. I think that tells us everything you needed to know. Interestingly enough, with all that I just said, when I think it's a coin toss, when I think it's 50-50, all things are even and I can't figure it out, who do I go with?
Home team.
Not today, my friend. I'm picking the Dolphins.
Yeah, well, surprisingly enough, I'm right there with you. I thought long and hard about picking the Patriots here. They upgraded the team, and Miami, you talked about Miami's defense. They were good last year, but there are multiple people from last year's Dolphins front seven that are now on the Patriots front seven. So I think there's a little bit of a downgrade. The Patriots, like to run the ball, and I think Miami's going to have a tougher time stopping the run this year. So how the pace of the game will go. But there are so many question marks on this Patriots team that I just couldn't pick them. Is Mac Jones when he's playing against starters in the NFL? Mac Jones. When he's playing against the starters in the NFL, is it going to be the same as what we saw in the preseason? Is the Patriots secondary going to hold up as well as it should without Stephon Gilmore there for the first 6 weeks? There are too many questions on this team for me to pick them against a team that, last year we saw did have a pretty strong defense. They had a pretty strong offense at times. So, maybe kind of more of a homer pick in a way because I live here in Florida and why would I pick the Patriots? But I picked the Dolphins this week.
I'm also going with Miami. I think if Gilmore was playing for the Patriots, they would definitely have a better chance at it just because Belichick and his defense is what he's going to throw at Tua. But ultimately, I like Tua and the Dolphins over Mac Jones and his offense, especially because the Dolphins' defense is pretty good themselves. So I'm going. I agree with you guys. I'm going Miami.
Now, and as a Miami fan, we've talked about this before. I am not sold to as the guy here. I'm just not. We're obviously we're going to find out this year if that's the case. But he's the key, man. He's like Wentz in Indianapolis. If that's a lot of pressure for a guy to carry, and usually you shouldn't put all that kind of weight on a quarterback's shoulders. But with both the Dolphins and the Colts, for different reasons, the way these teams are built, in my opinion, the only wild card is the quarterback position for both teams. And I think if both quarterbacks play well, both teams are playoff teams. If they don't, then they're probably not.
Yep, I completely agree.
Yeah. So, okay, we are all three taking the Dolphins there. The next up, the Packers at the Saints. Are you going to this game, Zach?
Am I going to the game?
It's in Jacksonville.
Oh, it is, isn't it? No, unfortunately, I'll be heading back home Friday.
Yeah, it's too bad.
That'd be pretty cool.
Hefe and I were going to roll up because, that there ain't anybody from Duval going to go to this game. So they're probably tickets all over the streets for sale for this game. Anyway, like I said last week, and I have said over and over and over, I'm a huge fan of Sean Payton. He will have the Saints back in order. He'll probably have them in some semblance of an order now. But dude, Drew Brees left a massive hole in that locker room and on that field, and he meant so much to that team in so many different ways that there's not one guy that's going to fill those gaps. Several guys have to step up. That they're going to have to go through pecking orders and see. It's just not going to fix itself. You can't just fix it. As good as Sean Payton is, it's going to have to fix itself. It's going to take time. People are going to step up in leadership positions, and there's just too many moving parts. And the Packers mean business. They know they're one of the favorite teams in the NFC. They know that they were a couple of decisions from potentially being in the Super Bowl last year. They could have very easily been in the Super Bowl. We all know that Rodgers got a chip on his shoulder. I don't think this is much of a contest. Not that it'll be a massive blowout or anything, but again, I don't think no matter what the Saints do, the Packers is going to be too much.
Yeah, it's the Saints have a really good defense. I will give them that, but they're going against Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and this is the last dance there in Green Bay that we assume. This is the last dance, I should say. Hopefully, it's not. I would love to see Aaron Rodgers continue there, but this offense is just way too good. The Packers' defense is pretty solid themselves. I expect them to give Jameis Winston some fits. I think New Orleans as a team is pretty good. They will be decent this year. It's just not going to happen against Aaron Rodgers in week one. Green Bay is going to win this one easily.
Yeah, and I think the same thing as Zach. I think New Orleans has a chance to be pretty good this year, but there are just question marks. What's it going to be like with the new quarterback? What's it like without Michael Thomas there? And you have the reigning MVP coming with the best wide receiver in the NFL. So, I just like you guys, I'm taking the Packers here. It wasn't even a question.
Okay, all three of us taking the Packers. All right, next up, the Broncos at the Giants. This one is also about 50-50 on ESPN. It's about 50-50 in my book. This is a coin toss, so I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the Giants. I do know that Daniel Jones this is his shit or get off the pot moment. I mean, he's gonna have to step up and prove that he really belongs in the league this year. The Giants, they're going to get better. They got better last year. I believe they're going to continue that trend and get better. I'm not real sure what's going to happen with the Broncos. For me, it's just kind of sit back and watch and see how they do, but I don't expect a whole lot out of them. It's a long road trip. They're playing in New York, so I'm going to have to go with the Giants.
I think this is where we differ. I think the Giants are a good team. They're on the up and up, but Denver is also on the up and up. They have talent all over their entire roster, offensively, especially defensively. Von Miller is coming back, correct, Hefe?
That is correct.
Yep. Von Miller's back. They got better through the draft defensively, so I think they're going to give Daniel Jones some fits. We don't know how Barkley's going to perform, if he's even going to be out there on the field. I think he is. I'll have to double check there, but I think Denver's going to go into New York and come out with an upset victory.
This is a pretty 50-50 game. A lot of the reason I picked the Giants in this one is because they're the home team. But I do think Denver's going to be better. I think both these teams have talent all over the roster. But I think Daniel Jones, at least being in this same system with his new plethora of weapons, and if Saquon Barkley wasn't playing, I think I probably would have went with Denver in this one. But he's the X factor, and him being in the lineup and being ready for week one is a big deal. It gives them an added dimension of what they are able to do and the kind of things they can do on offense. So I had to go with the Giants in this one.
Okay, Hefe and I are taking the Giants. Zach's taking the Broncos. Speaking of Von Miller and talking about Cam Newton, I saw someone say the other day that Von Miller wrecked Cam Newton's career. and I can't stop thinking about it.
That's great.
He hasn't been the same.
Von Miller will do that.
Yeah. What year was that? 16?
15 or 16, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he stripped him twice in the Super Bowl. Just wreaked havoc on him, and Cam hasn't been the same since that happened. I'll never forget reading that as long as I live. Every time I hear Von Miller or Cam Newton, I will always think about that statement. Okay, Bears at the Los Angeles. I can't even say this with a straight face. The Bears at the Los Angeles Rams. There is no way Chicago. I say that, and they went 5-0 at the beginning of last year. The worst 5-0 team I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. There's no way they're going to Los Angeles and beating the Rams. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, 5-0 is not happening this year. The Rams are the best team defensively out there, rushing, passing. They have it all. They have Aaron Donald. They have Jalen Ramsey. And then offensively, they just got Matt Stafford. So I think Stafford's going to have a monstrous day. Nothing's going to happen for the Bears. This is going to be an absolute blowout.
That sucks for the Bears. You know, they had to deal with Matt Stafford twice a year. Even though he was on a bad team, he's still Matt Stafford. And then he leaves, and here we are, first game of the season. They have to see him again. You know, unfortunate for them because this team is stacked. You know, they've had some running back injuries. Unfortunate that Cam Akers is going to miss the season. I thought he was going to have a real big year. But, you know, won't matter in this game. Sean McVay is about to make Matt Nagy look like an elementary school coach.
Agreed. So, all right, we're all three taking the Rams. And, all right, last game of the week on Monday night, the Ravens at the Raiders. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in Vegas, man. I don't know. The Ravens need this game like we were talking about the Steelers. The Ravens know that they're going to have to fight. The Ravens probably think they're third in the AFC. They might even think they're second. Hell, they might think they're the first. I don't know. I don't have them that high. To me, they're second tier, maybe third tier, depending on how some things go. None of that's important. What's important is the Ravens know they need every win to make sure they get in the playoffs because it's going to be so tightly contested where they're sitting. Lamar Jackson better have a chip on his shoulder because a lot of people are eating him up in the news media and say, you know, that whole Peyton Manning can't win the big game kind of thing from back when he was a rookie. Jackson has a lot to prove. I'd like to think that he's going to step up to the plate and meet that challenge. I would like to think that even though I'm not a Ravens fan, I'd like to see good teams compete. I would like to see the Ravens come into this game with a chip on their shoulder, and which is what they should have. And if they do that, they're just going to come in and they're going to beat the hell of the Raiders the whole night and get this season off to a good start. I'm a Chucky fan. I don't know what's going on in Vegas. I don't know if the game's passed Chucky by or they're all in there with their weed pens in the locker room and recliners playing video games instead of practice. I don't know what's going on out there. The casinos, I don't know. Have you seen that? That stadium's ridiculous. They're probably just all hanging out in there throwing parties, but they're not doing what they need to do to win, and they're not going to win Monday night either.
Nope, Raiders are heading the wrong way. I don't know what's going on either, but I do know they're heading the wrong way. Ravens going to Vegas, win this one easily.
What's going on is Mike Mayock doesn't know how to evaluate or draft any defensive players. Everybody they bring in there has been underwhelming, and it's costing the team. You know, the offense is pretty good. Other than getting rid of all your offensive linemen in the same offseason. Like you guys, this one for me was no contest. You know, the Raiders just aren't good enough to keep up with the Ravens.
All right, we're all three taking the Ravens. So we deviated on the one game. Is that it? Oh, no, Zach, you deviated. FAU deviated on one, and Zach, you deviated on the other. And I guess I didn't deviate on any.
We all can't pick the same stuff. We gotta pick something different, you know.
Yeah, good point. So we want to remind you to join our Pigskin Pick'em. Go to Horsemen Sports on Twitter, Facebook. Find the link for the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em. It's free. Compete against us, so we can. If you win, we'll have you on here. We'll let you trash talk. If you don't win, then we won't let you on here. We will trash talk. But either way, we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. We want you to join. It's free. Tell all your friends and your grandma. She wants to play too. She may not be able to fill it out. You're gonna have to fill the stuff out for her, but get her involved. She definitely wants to go. Remember, we are on Patreon. We'd love to have you show us some support there. If you find value in the content that we're delivering, we've got some big plans of things we want to do this year and on into future years. Remember to like, share, subscribe, tell your grandma, tell your girlfriend, and come back here. We will do this again next week where we will recap the games from the weekend, and we will talk about what's about week 2 games. So we're glad football's back. Anything you guys want to say before we go?
Not at all. Should be a good weekend.
Okay. All right. So, enjoy the games, and we'll see you back here next week. Deuces.